Oh, hello.
Well, hi.
uh, Welcome to this week's Owlbear Soup. I'm Justin.
And I'm Rich. I was just typing into the chat. Hello, soup.
It's soup time. Oh man. Yeah. Oh, it was a little interesting trying to get ready this morning. You know, we have Aubrey and I have this new green screen set up that you can't see.
I can.
And yeah, you can. And it took a little while to reset everything, and so we had to do some testing and all that jazz. So anyway, here we are.
That is
So
great.
how's it going? How was your week?
My week was wild. It's been nuts because I am planning two big events for this coming week, and so it's just like, well, this hour I'm going to work on this project, and then I'm going to swap back to this one, and then back to this one. But very happily, I set out an order for all of my Empyrean Investigations book, and it was a terrifying click to make. Just like order 500 print copies of a book, and as books are expensive, that's the deal.
Yeah, yeah. I will eagerly anticipate the arrival of my copy.
So excited.
Oh
yeah.
What should be the secret word of the day? The secret word of the day is 0.
Oh no. I was just like, when are we ever going to say that word? And then I looked at the heading of this episode.
Oh man, I got distracted by that. But yeah, no, I'm eagerly anticipating the arrival of my copy. I got a chance to peruse the PDF. It is amazing. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of things that I want to bring into my home game.
Oh,
there are some interesting things in there, and yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about some of the stuff in there, and I haven't got a chance to read the adventures, but I'm going to dig through those as well. I really enjoyed the way they're set up in there already.
awesome.
You have different tiers. I think it's a really good book. I'm not just saying that because I like you.
Right. Thank you. I'm really excited because there's one just really simple rule in there, because like investigations are hard, and so I added an inspiration rule, which is just like, hey, if you have inspiration, instead of spending it on an extra die, like spend it to ask the DM a question, and they need to that's like this perfect help moments, and just answer the question honestly and help out your players a little bit if they're stuck. Like there just isn't part of that, and I've seen that in a lot of different games. Keith Baker puts an idea like that into Phoenix Dawn Command, which is super cool. It's so good, and I'm always like, how's that really going to work out? Are they going to trick you? Are they going to mess around? But it feels necessary in a lot of like investigations where the DM wants you to get somewhere and the player isn't quite getting there.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I really liked about it was sometimes I, even as the DM, as the person creating the whole thing, sometimes it's hard for me to create clues that are just so in my players' faces that they understand, like, oh hey, that thing I said, that's the clue. And so having them have that ability helps me relax a little too, where it's like, well, eventually they'll just spend some inspiration, and I have my players give each other inspiration, so they always have it. So
yeah, that's great then.
Yeah.
And it means if they're doing that, they're not smacking your monsters around.
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah. So other than that, other than ordering a bunch of books and what else? You have something else that's on the precipice of launching at this point, right?
So on Tuesday, that's May 5th, I am launching a Kickstarter for the Academy of Adventures, which is an online D&D summer camp. I am planning to run D&D online for kids for all of July, most of June. Just like 6 weeks so far right now is kind of set aside for that. And it would be basically each seat is a 2.5 hour slot for 5 days, and then I'm running 2 of those every single day.
Oh wow! And so you have a limited amount of available slots too.
Yeah, there will be 5 that you can pledge to with the Kickstarter in every one of those, because a party of like 5 players is always good.
Mhm.
But I wanted to do a weird thing I'm trying out, because summer camp is expensive, Kickstarter's expensive, so I am adding a level that is like a scholarship level.
Mhm.
And if people back this heroes scholarship, then kids who apply to it can actually get in with like a 6th seat on these. So
Oh, nice.
I
That's awesome.
I'm seeing if that, I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm just trying something new. Like, doing this whole thing on Kickstarter is pretty wild, but I'm hopeful that it's all going to work out the
Yeah.
way I hope.
That sounds awesome.
It should
So,
be fun. Because I the big plan right now is, like, I love summer camp. I've been doing it way too long,
mhm.
and it's been a while now. But it's so good to like have this focused 5-week or 5-day plan. It's really cool. You think about what can you accomplish in 5 days, like where do you get to, what stories can you tell, and I don't want to run like an entire Pathfinder delve, but like I'm almost thinking like day one we tell stories together. Let's play like Honey Heist, or let's
Mhm.
do something a little weird to get to know each other. And then we build characters and we talk about the game. We do some encounters that are fun, some social encounters, and we do like a big boss fight at the end. I want to do like an award ceremony, like end of Star Wars.
Are are you gonna have like a campfire night and singing songs and
If the first stretch goal is actually for the double clicks to play an end of camp online concert
oh,
for
very
everyone
nice.
who got involved in camp. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's awesome.
But it's great because the stretch goal is just new, more weeks. And then the other thing is I'm writing a kids-friendly adventure to go with the whole thing, so everybody who backs gets that adventure, and then that adventure is like a level all on its own on the Kickstarter. And it's great. It's like it's so ridiculous. It's exploring the academy itself, and I've had to come up with the headmaster. The headmaster. I found this great stock art of this gnome druid, and one of his arms is just like a huge bear's paw, and I was like,
Oh
"That's
wow.
it. That's it." He's got
Yeah.
this curly Q mustache.
Nice. Nice.
So that's fun. I'm really excited about that. We'll see how that goes on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, I am doing Fantasy Age on Twitch for a Saving Throw show, which I'm
Nice.
also stupidly excited about. I love Fantasy Age. And that's going to be with one alpha stream right here in the chat right now,
Oh,
which will be fun. It's also going to have
are you sure that's a good idea? He did get a D in D&D, so he did lose his scholarship.
oof. Shoot. Well, we'll see if we can upgrade that in Fantasy Age, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
But it's going to be fun. It's going to be, besides Teos, it's also going to be Amy Dallin and Rick Budd and Xander Generat.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's going to be a fun time.
Sounds like a good time.
That adventure is also silly and great.
And Jonathan asks, why didn't this exist when I was a kid? In reference to D&D summer camp.
Oh, hello. Did I add an adult D&D week? Yes, I did. And it's going to be like in the evenings too. So all the camps are during the day, and the adults one is going to be, I think, is it like 6 o'clock? I think I'd have to check the page to make sure, but it's later in the day so that people could do it. Unfortunately, everything has to be Pacific time because that's where I live and all. But there is an adult week, and if that fills up, I'll add a second one because it would just be kind of fun. Play some games with adults too.
Nice.
I thought about it. I've always like, adults are always like, I want to learn this. There was a long time where people were like, how you teach math? Can you teach math for adults? And I was like, how?
Mm-hmm.
But D&D online Zoom, we can do it.
Yeah, no, this all sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I've been spending the week. I kind of want to get into another D&D game, or get into a D&D game, actually be a player or something. And so I've been spending a lot of time on the Roll20 forums, kind of looking at like some of the available games and stuff. And I'm really impressed at how many people are like, hey, this is my first time DMing. I just want to throw my hat in the ring. I'm going to give it a try, right? Or accepting new players, or those types of things. And it was really encouraging to see that kind of stuff on places like the Roll20 forums, and you're creating more avenues for these people to go and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go take this camp. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to get some experience so then I can go out and play this game myself. So it's like really great service.
I am really happy about it because like Roll20 is so, I love public play. We've talked about it way too many times. I know. But it's hard to make the decision like I'm going to go to a place and play with strangers, or like you're talking about, like I'm going to look through the forums. I'm going to find the campaign that I would like to join and say that I'm up for this. That can be really hard, and it could be, especially if you also are like, I don't know how the system works very well. It's so hard. So I'm hoping it helps out and these kids start, go back and eventually go back to school and start up their D&D clubs or join in or whatever else.
Yeah. D&D clubs. We didn't have those when I was in high school.
I know.
I'm mad about that one.
We played D&D while we were pretending to be outfielders in PE.
My first D&D game was introduced to me in the weight room at my high school.
Oh yeah.
Me and a couple of other nerds, and we were just out there, pretending to do weights, and we're like, you know what? My buddy's like, he's like, hey, so how do you feel about D&D? It's like, well, what's D&D? It's like, oh, well, it's this. It's like, oh, well, let's do this. And so then we began, like, we would be in the weight room, and we'd have like, our polyhedrals in our pockets, and then we'd be, going through the store, and it was just 3 people. And, the DM would say something, and it's like, oh, hey. And then you just roll the dice, and it's like, oh, hey, everything's great. So it was a very interesting way to get introduced to D&D. And then actually I went to a art magnet school. So we were encouraged by some of our drama teachers to get involved in like D&D groups.
Oh, wow.
Leading me to believe there was multiple D&D groups at my school, and I was not part of any of them except for my one, which it ended up growing to like 10 people in that group. But it was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I know at my school I have been the faculty advisor. I just basically supervised a group while they were playing, and it was fun. It was really cool because now it is like you can have ask a teacher to get you a classroom and hang out there during lunch or after school, and it feels like it doesn't need to be this. It's just very like celebrated because it does, like activities that bring people together are just good. Kids need that stuff. So I'm glad people have caught on.
Yeah. Apparently, Teos had one in Colombia during the 6th grade.
It's incredible to me. That's incredible.
That's amazing to me. And see, Jonathan's gotten started with some Roll20, and he started playing in junior high as a way to interact with scary kids, of not having to interact with scary kids. It's like, what? This is what I get for trying to read and talk at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went, like I said, I went to an art magnet, so it wasn't so much to avoid the scary kids because, I was a baseball player, I was a wrestler, so I was a jock in my initial year of high school, my freshman year, and that's why I was in the weight room and playing D&D there, right? But it was an art school too, so it's like even the even the most burly jockey guy, there's a good chance he was there for something like music or drama or dance, right?
Yeah.
So not everybody there was for art because it was magnet, so it's partially, but yeah, it was just it was an interesting experience to go from my arty high school to my high school in California, where it was like the art department was like a very small portion of this huge behemoth of a high school that was supported by their football team, but.
Yeah. So. That's like the school I went to, except it was much smaller.
That's when I stopped being a jock.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with every good D&D game and every good D&D, campaign, and not just D&D, and I, we touched on this a little bit last week, and we decided we were going to dive into it a little bit more. The very first session that you approach as a gamer to some kind of RPG could be a session to establish the baseline for your campaign. That's been lovingly referred to as session 0. I was waiting. I'm waiting for the exclamations.
Yeah, is that happening? Can we hear?
I don't know. I think so. And it's session zero is important for many reasons, right? But I really, for me, session zero is setting the groundwork for the campaign in multiple ways. Like what do we expect as players? What do we expect as GMs? What kind of, we talked a little bit about using party alignment as opposed to individual alignment to help guide the party. How do you set these things? How do you set your table rules? And that's kind of all in session zero. As long as well as some of the things that you had mentioned is building a story together. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so
bringing everybody on board.
Yeah. And you actually had mentioned that you have you have some experience running session zeros.
I do. I really like them. Yeah. Well, should we start with player focused, or do you want to start with like the DM background? We got so many different ideas here because session zero is so many things. It's a thing that I remember like when I was a kid growing up, we never did ever. Right. It was just the DM started telling a story, you made a character, let's go. And now it has become this ritual that that drives a game and moves us forward. So, you want to start with some player stuff? Should I do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Then let's make sure that I am where I want to be. There it is.
Is that you calling for a screen share?
I am ready for a screen share.
All right, let's see how this rolls out.
All right.
First screen share of the podcast.
Okay. So let's see. This is actually the questionnaire that I gave to my players in my latest campaign, the Champions of Crown City, which is this campaign I designed. We're in hiatus right now, but it's been going for about 2 years now, I think. And it is basically the major concept is that your character is a champion. Like you're almost like it's a profession. You have trained for it. You are here. You are the person who goes around. And if people need help in Crown City, which is this perfect, ideal, wonderful town, you're the person who helps out. So in order to kind of get people to that point, I gave them this questionnaire that kind of set the tone that I was looking for. And it did a couple other things as well, which I suppose I'll get to. But like if you take a look at these questions, number 3 is perfect. Number 3 is a totally leading question, and it has 2 purposes. Number 1, what kind of heroics does your character yearn for? Makes a player think about what heroically they kind of want to do in a campaign. Do they want to go, is there kind of heroics? Is it delving dungeons and defeating the evil? Or is it, like climbing to the top of the highest mountain? Is it exploration? Is there heroics? Is it, getting cats out of trees? Is that it, And that helps me not just as a DM, like know what these players want, but like start designing my adventures to kind of hit one of those every once in a while, right? So it's not taking away from the campaign story that I want to tell, but it does give me these little moments that could kind of push my players towards being, the heroic in the way that they want to.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. I really like this. And just looking through, there's a couple other ones that I thought were really fun. Number 5. I didn't want to tell you about this one. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
A band of pirates landed near the coast of Crown City, and the champions were dispatched. And I asked specifically, how did you help clear them out? Like, what was your task? And so when we were talking about this during our...
joined them and sailed the ship away.
Yeah, exactly. Well... One of the characters was like, is it my old crew? Because I will treat them differently. But it was fun because they all had this moment where they got to ask or, say the cool thing that they did. We haven't even played the game yet, and they're already saying the cool things their character did. And that was really, really fun. I really enjoyed that. Number 6 is kind of the same way. It's just a silly question, right? It's giving the tone of the game I'm looking for, right? A group of diplomats show up. They challenge you to a game. What's one trick that you did? And it could be, are you casting Mage Hand? to play basket orb? Are you using an unseen servant to block or something like that? What exactly are you up to in this game that is kind of underhanded? What else did I do in this one? These last ones, my very last one is how does your champion help kittens out of trees? That's very important. But there's just all these questions to get them in the right mindset. So now they're all, no one came out of this and was like, well, how am I connected to these other players? Or I don't even like them. Why am I adventuring with them, right? We all kind of see that we are on a team together. We have similar goals, and I've driven them towards these goals. And they know now that the campaign is going to be kind of about this kind of play.
Yeah, that's I think that's a really great way to kind of kick off that campaign, and you set it into motion. Like, you want that heroic campaign. That's I like that a lot.
Right? I also cheated. I did two things in here that I thought were fun. They didn't realize this was going to happen. But question number 2 is about the party had mentors who helped train them to become champions. What were they like? And so as this session 0 kind of developed, basically these mentors became NPCs that I then seeded into the campaign world, right? So nice. They're all living in Crown City, right? They're they trained them to become champions, but now they've been champions for a while. What are their old trainers doing now? Like, one, I think, was pretty high up in the castle guard, and one of them was running a circus.
Oh, nice.
That's right. So now suddenly I have a circus. I have an inn with the castle guard. I'm trying to remember. One is in charge of a nearby temple. So suddenly, like, these characters, they're not mine. I didn't come up with them. But, you're, as a DM, you always need more characters. You need people to, like, give story prompts and push people, to so that they don't just go to a tavern and look at the bulletin board, right? You need you can have these NPCs start handing out juicy bits of adventure, which I think is a lot of fun. Yeah. And they wrote them all, so they were very happy to go meet with them and learn more about their stories.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That seems like that leads into a nice exercise, and I forget which game this is directly stolen from, but something that I've started to do too, where, the first time when we all sit around for that session 0, preferably like around a table, it doesn't have to be, you are somehow connected to the person, person to your right and person to your left, right? And so what is that shared story that you have to the person on your right, and what's that shared story you have with the person on your left? Even if it's just like, oh, well, we used to occasionally hang out at the same bar, you have some kind of connection there. So then you're already building party cohesion. Along with your questionnaire, you're already creating the party feeling. So you've hit a couple of those interesting party building topics before you have even hit session 1. Yeah. And and hopefully from there you're just like, the Fiasco model. Yeah. You're why did I forget that? Because I don't play Fiasco.
Well, I was actually curious if there was a lighter version of that you were referencing, because Fiasco, like, it takes 30 minutes to build those up, which can be tricky. So I kind of like the idea of, like, just look to your right. How do you two work together? Look to your left. Yep. What do you two do?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's all it takes, right? Because, Fiasco, like, part of the game is that 30 minutes you take to become associated with people. Yeah. In a session 0, that can take like 5 or 10 minutes, right? Where you just talk to the person next to you. Oh, hey, by the way, I'm coming with this character. Maybe we came from the same same city. Maybe we hung out in the same tavern. Teos is pointing out that Fantasy Age has something similar to that as well, with goals and then ties to other characters.
Yes, I actually just saw those that one Teos had sent out to the whole group, and I was so excited because suddenly, they're just basically we're at the point in this one shot where they're just starting to get their characters ready and pass them around, and Teos immediately had this, like, all right, so just based on your general concept, I think I could be this with you and this with you and this with you, and that was awesome. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do enjoy, building the party before the party is even built. Mm-hmm. I think that's cool. And then, how do you tackle other session 0 topics? We've tackled, a little bit about building the party and connecting the party. For me, some of the things that I like to establish up front is, like, house rules, things like how we're doing experience. Do you use XP? Do they get things from creatures being slain? Do how do you award XP, or do you just use milestones based on how, where you are in the story, that type of thing? Establishing that, I think, with the player right off the bat lets them know a little bit about your game and sets their expectations, right? I'm using milestone for my home game, and so when it feels appropriate in the story, I say, okay, it's time to level up. Then none of us have to worry about it mid dungeon. We just killed the 316th goblin. We now have enough XP to level up, so let's go ahead and deal with that. Right?
But not you, because you missed that one session, so you're down about 300 experience. So we'll wait for you in about 20 minutes when we finish up the next room.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I like hitting on things like that. As far as house rules go, the only house rule I have is it's not really like one that I enforce, but if a die hits the ground, it's a 1.
Oh, hey.
That's it.
Ooh, interesting. Is that from a personal like ritual? Do you have a preferred rolling space that you must roll in?
No. So where it came from was my house rule, no dwarves. It came from an experience I had with a player, and it jokingly became a house rule because he was one of those people who grabbed his dice and then flung it way in the air, and then it would bounce all over the table, and then it would roll off the table like a third at a time. So eventually like, all right, it's on the ground, it's a 1, and that just became the perpetual thing. And that's mostly just a reminder to control your dice. I only use metal dice, so I'm very careful with mine, but
it's a smart way to set tone. I like it.
Yeah.
There's going to be discipline in this campaign.
Discipline. But I mean, but there's other things you can kind of talk about. Like you could talk about things like, okay, alcohol at the table, right? Do you care? Do you care how much your players drink? Do you care if they drink? Is that going to be part of the ritual? Is everyone going to have like, a something of whiskey before we start gaming to kind of everyone get in the mood? And I mean, we live on the West Coast, so it's like, let's talk about that too. It's like, oh, okay, so can you get stoned before you come and join the game? Is that a thing? Is that okay? Do you want to exclude that? So you start kind of also being able to set the environment for the players to create a environment that is conducive towards the story you want to tell.
Right. There's a big question about like what is the purpose of our we all got together for this, or these days we all got together on Zoom for this.
Right.
You don't want one person to have an expectation that is dramatically different from everyone else's. Like I know in my campaign we usually spend an hour like talking at the start of it. We get together because it's a social thing. So as a DM, I'm never going to be the one to be like, all right, everybody silence, like it's 6 o'clock. Let's get started. We just go until everybody's kind of ready. And it's people have stuff they want to talk about, we go for it. And we usually, we play until someone says, all right, I'm too tired to play anymore. And that's when we end our session. But it's good because now everybody's on board with that. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
So I like this. I like this talk at the start about what are we here for? What is going to make us all happy? What is going to help me tell the story that I want to tell? And also, this reminder that we're all here to have fun together. So let's make sure that we're doing that as well.
Yeah.
It's good.
And that kind of leads me to this really interesting way. And I think it was on RPG Stack Exchange is where I found it. And it was a way that I feel like I want to go into my next session or my next campaign and say, okay, here are some topics. I am not planning on hitting most or any of these topics. These are just topics that are, borderline something, right? And so then you talk about, okay, so is this open? Do you have a line? Or is this a veil? So the idea is a line is something like you do not cross this, right?
Yes.
Right?
Sorry, I have this exact thing to talk about, so this is great.
Oh, okay. This is perfect. Yeah. And I just like the terminology of lines and veils. That's I feel like that's much more approachable. That's a little easier to say, oh no, let's make that a veil. So something adult, sexual comes up. It's like, okay, well that's a line for me. So all right, so that's off the table. No more.
Yep.
Or that's a veil. Like, okay, sure, we can have a fade to black moment for this, so long as all the communication is there, right? All of this whole game that we play is dependent on good communication between players and the DM's a player between players, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, anyway, I just love the idea of lines and veils being a way to present that information in a way that's not like in your face, right? It's and I think that's a problem sometimes when I've seen a few of these questionnaires pop up. It's like you see the words like hard no, right? Or something along those lines, and it's sometimes it's hard to say, that's a hard no for me. Some people, but if you say, you soften the language a little bit to mean the same thing, so lines and veils, I like that a lot. Anyway, I
do too.
I also enjoy the card system. I don't know, the yellow and red cards. If something comes up in topic during the game, flash a card, yellow, tone it down, red. Let's move on. So
I like it a lot. The veil system is really interesting because it's got more nuance to it, right? That it's got 6 levels of veil. Is the version that I have seen at the very least.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
Right, and so there's when you fill out this questionnaire kind of at the start, it's the intent that I've seen, right? You send it to the game master and you're like, here are my lines and veils. And maybe you have something that is like, well, it's a veil, but it's a 1 veil or a 2 veil. And that's like on the green end. It's like, I'm okay with this content. I don't really want to be a part of it. So other people, as long as I'm not in the scene, cool. But maybe something that's like a 5 or a 6, like on the top end, is like, if that happens, like it can happen in your backstory, or it can be this like fade out moments. That's fine. I don't want us to deal with it. It's fine if you do it. So there is a lot of nuance there for that kind of topic. But I love that it's on top of. It's not just that, right?
Right.
You also have those lines of being like, these things will not appear. I don't want any of this. And it's cool because it just allows for so much safety and so much ability to be like, and you can get really into it. Like those veils, it's such a wide spectrum. It's stuff like, I don't really want to do this. I know it's fine. I just don't want to do it. Like I don't want to be in the tavern scene or, things like that. It's totally open, but I also recognize it's part of this. So I'll put that as a lower veil. Just don't include me in that scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I saw that when I was doing some research for this, and I was just like, oh man, I just really like this idea of lines and veils. And now now talking about the levels of veil. That's great. I like that. That's fun.
Because on its own, I like you're talking about the yellow and red cards. The X card idea, like you said, the hard no is so scary because it's just like there's the idea of the X card is there's a card, and if ideas move into that territory, you hit the card and it's done. We move on to a new scene, and it's kind of scary to be the one to press that button or be like, am I comfortable with this? Like it leads to this tension, and I love that new safety systems have come out that avoid that tension completely, or help out with it.
And I think the X card idea is important to have that available to your players.
Yes.
I also I also am okay if something comes up and a player wants to text me during the game, or send me a PM or whatever. In lieu of the card, like, oh, let's curtail this, let's move in a different direction, like that type of communication, even that though can be intimidating to some folks, right? And Aubrey points out X card isn't too scary, and
that's true. That is true.
in really it isn't, but I just want to make sure to establish the campaign in a way that the X card isn't necessary. But if it does come up, the option is there, and hopefully everyone feels comfortable enough with the group where they're okay with that. And if they're not comfortable enough with the group, then maybe we need to step back and readdress all our veils.
That is for sure. Right. And that's in that, like, player build up at the very start of this campaign, making sure you've got a good team that we're all on board for the same, the same reasons, the same fun. We want to get the same enjoyment out of this.
Yeah.
I really love the yellow card lead up to the X card. The like, let's, I would
Yeah.
like this to stop very soon. I don't, I'm not sure where this is going, but let's back this up.
Yeah, it's it was another thing I've seen reference like this. Oh God, it was like the scene change, right? Where it's the idea of if you have the yellow card, well then what you do is let's see if I find it. Yeah, script change, right? The idea of movie editing. So you just kind of start into it. Oh, all of a sudden we're in this other area. We don't know what happened there. It doesn't matter. We've moved on with the story to this point.
Yep.
And I think that's good. Like, having that yellow card, like, oh, hey, you know what? And yellow card, maybe it was just like, I've had a rough time with the quarantine this week. Let's not deal with a disease that's sweeping through Waterdeep. Let's put the yellow card out. Let's divert that somehow if we can.
Yeah, that sounds good. Right. And I love that. I mean, it's all of it's about the discussions that you have around these safety tools, right? It's about training your party, about your players, how to use these things. Because if I'm at a home game with my friends and you're here and we all know how this stuff works, safety tools aren't frightening. They're there to help us. We know it. They're here to support us and help us tell the stories that make us happy, that we all want to tell together and stuff like that. Yeah, I would love more of these discussions to happen at like things like organized play or things like convention play or stuff like that, where it is you with a group that you may or may not know and trying to apply those tools. In those cases, the X card is so important and so valuable, and I still know so many people who don't know these tools, and I want them all trained on them because they're important and they're helpful for making sure our game is a game.
Yeah, and I would almost wonder if like organized play could do something where it's like, oh, part of printing your mod, part of printing your certs is you have to also print this quick questionnaire, and you pass it around the table. Don't need to write names or anything on it. It's just check marks. Pass it around the table and it's good to go. And then the GM looks over it, compares it to the mod. If there's any adjustments they need to make, good. Onward, forward, and that'll help a lot. Yeah, Jonathan points out the cut to works well at a table. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's great. I think it's a great tool, and it can be cinematic.
Yeah, it's very good.
Man. Yeah. Anyway,
cool.
And I did bring up one thing is sending texts and communicating digitally. I don't care if people have a computer at the table. I don't care if people have a cell phone at the table. I don't care about any of those digital things. Where I draw the line is sound. So if you're watching YouTube videos while I'm trying to run a D&D game, like that's a rule I established in the beginning. I'm like, okay, for everyone's disruption, especially my own, don't be playing video games on your phone if you have the sound up when it's not your turn to do something.
Yeah. Right. I'm trying to think of other tricks like that. I think one of my only rules or so, like I like it when a game is running quick, not quickly, but quickly. So a thing I like to do, and I don't know if I do this at the start. Maybe I don't know if I tell people that I'm doing this, but I like to do things in initiative, like when I'm running a combat and all right, so it is your turn and you are up next. So that player knows, oh, it's not my turn yet, but if I have disengaged, this is my time to re-engage. Just on that topic, because a lot of people do. D&D combats can take a long time, so if they check out when it's not their turn, and I don't want to say don't check out when it's not your turn. That's no. Do whatever you need to do. We're playing a game, but like a subtle reminder, you're almost up.
Yeah, I have adapted the table tents method for initiative. I know Teos and my other D&D buddy here, Jonathan, both use the table tents pretty religiously whenever doing any kind of combat. Or I've even used it in other social situations where the party is split the party. That's fine. I'm just going to put you in initiative. That way I can keep track of what everyone is doing. And but yeah, so the tents for me is just 3x5 cards folded in half. You write a number, one on each side, 2, 3, as many as you want, and you just stack them on the table. They fold flat. They go with you in your bag if you're playing elsewhere. Otherwise, you just pass them out as initiative goes into the order. I put my initiatives on my DM screen, and that way everyone has a general idea of where they are in the initiative. Mm-hmm. Until I start skipping numbers.
Yeah. Right.
Because if I don't have the last number in the initiative, I forget everyone after my last turn.
I totally understand. That's why I've got to keep that very specific. I have a big turn tracker that I'm just always like magnetic and light erase. And it's wild.
The Paizo one?
Yeah. Yeah. Very helpful for my style.
Yeah. No.
But it's good. Those are definitely things I like to tell people early on, even if they're not getting it in session 0, they're getting it in session 1, and they can kind of see from this setup, like how the game, how I intend for it to run. Mm-hmm. Because that's also an important thing. Like as a DM, when you set this whole thing up and you're building your player expectations and you've got your party and, whatever else, like there's also, you're managing a pretty difficult game mm-hmm. that could go all sorts of places. So how do you plan to do that? Like what are the tools that you were going to use to build, mechanically make your game work? Making sure everybody's on board with those things is pretty important.
Yeah, I think that's important. And in some folks I've seen, like as I was doing research for this, they'll talk about things along the lines of character creation and allowed sources and stuff. And I feel like that's even pre-session 0, at least for me. I like the players to already have a concept in mind when they come to the table. If they haven't built their character, that's fine. We can build characters at the table together. That's great. But I like to give my players, the elevator pitch of the campaign, the allowed sources, and basic character creation ideas, so that they can begin to build out potential characters for this campaign and be able to sit down. Thank you, Jonathan, and be able to sit down and then immediately get into that party building portion of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you. Like, do you expect your players to already have a concept in mind when they sit at the table, or is it a blank slate where everyone builds the party together right then and there?
I'm usually okay, because whenever I play, I'm often like, okay, do you have a strong idea? You have a strong idea. You have a strong idea. I'll kind of fill roles mm-hmm. often, Yeah. And so it's hard to come in to a session and be that person. And I know I have a couple players who are like that. So when I know we had our session 0, there were multiple people who said, this is what I'm going to do. I got this. I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And some people didn't. And so they were able to kind of see what everybody else had and kind of fill out the party as they kind of saw fit. So nice. I want to make sure people have both of those options available. But definitely, if everybody comes up, with absolutely nothing, we're usually dealing with that on email. Yeah, that's pre-session 0. Mm-hmm. It's hard to have conversations about, major NPCs who mentored your character if you don't know who your character is. That being said, making characters in 5th edition is not hard.
No.
It's a pretty simple game at this point, and especially if you decide with your sources to be kind of, I don't know, streamlined with it. I'm a big fan. I'm going to say this out loud. I'm a big fan of 5th Ed organized play, which is Player's Handbook +1, right?
Yeah.
It's fun to play with all the options. It absolutely is. But if you're coming up with a brand new character, you just want to get started, focus it down, narrow it down, pick these 2 things, put them together. Player's Handbook plus Ravnica. You can make wild characters with those, for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that for organized play. I don't use it for home game, but but that's because I expect a certain amount of craziness from my players at the table.
Yeah.
And so I can adjust for that. I think for organized play, I think that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to sit down at an Adventures League table with somebody who has used all, 30 books to create their character, and they have a shopping list of all the items from each book that they need to have. Mm. And then that becomes the expectation when you sit at the table, like with Pathfinder Society.
Exactly. I was just remembering the day when I went to PaizoCon and people would carry suitcases full of their books because the rule in Pathfinder Society is you can use any option that you have the book for, and you must be able to show the book if the DM asks you to, if they audit your character. And there was a date where they were like, PDFs are finally okay as long as you buy them through the store and the PDF has your name on it. But there were rules like, can I just print out the 1 feat that I'm using from this book? And they were like, no. Carry it all. It was such a nightmare. It was wild. But it sells their books, which is, I assume, the part, like the point of organized play in a lot of ways. So that was good.
And I think the book +1 does the same thing. Yeah, and that was, and that's kind of what turned me off a little bit from Pathfinder Society. Is I sat down at a table and there was like 2 or 3 people at the table with these list of like consumables, and they were like, "Hey, do you have this? How are you gonna get through this without this? Do you have this? How are you gonna survive without this? Oh no, every player needs this. So why don't you have this?" Like, you know what? I'm gonna be just a barbarian who runs around naked and punches things. I have no gear.
How do you like that, everybody?
That's my new Pathfinder character.
Yeah. That experience had a lot of consumable purchases. That is for sure. You had a lot of money to throw around. Yeah. And not a lot to spend it on sometimes.
No. But
that being said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and I did buy a PDF of a book just for a feat.
Yeah, I mean, I was. Oh God, was it the investigator class came out? Funny enough, and I was super excited about that idea, so I bought that stupid book so I could play that stupid character, and I sat down for 1 session because that was the last session of Pathfinder I played.
Oh no!
I was like, nope.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Then I started playing Starfinder, and Starfinder is great.
Oh, that's good. Good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you want to hit on as far as talking about session 0?
I think I've got all my major stuff out. I know we had talked about party alignment a little bit, but that is something I think that comes naturally if you build a session 0 together really well. So that's good. And it also fits into your campaign concept, which you had talked about, and you've written a blog post about it on funneling. I called it funnel vision.
Yeah, that works.
But I do see that we have a question in the chat. What classes do you recommend or discourage for new players?
New players, I tend to stay away from spellcasting classes because the complexity of spell slots. I would say maybe like a warlock might be okay if they want to play something spellcastery, just because of the way spell slots work with the warlock. It's a little bit easier to, I think, to explain the rules and grasp rules going forward. For me, I tend to actually steer new players towards Monk in 5th edition.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting choice. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, so there's a lot of complexity there, but the complexity builds at a very reasonable pace, and I think it helps. The way it's structured is structured in a way that helps you learn the system fairly well. So you're dealing with everything from you're at basic level. You just walk up to things and punch them, right? There's not first level, not a whole lot of options there. Then when you hit 3 and you start getting more options, well, then you're including key, which helps you wrap your head around the idea of things that recharge in short rests and additional abilities. And then as you kind of go further and further, you keep tacking all these interesting abilities, and it kind of makes you think of how to play the character and the structure of the character. And then once you kind of have a firm grasp on that, sitting down to play a barbarian is going to be easy, right? Then you can get more creative with it. Or sitting down to play a wizard isn't going to be so complex because you're dealing with spell slots instead of like 30 different abilities. And I just think the monk is built very well, where it levels up fairly. It starts off very simple and gets more complex the higher up you get.
Interesting. I like that.
In a very structured way. How about you?
Well, now I'm trying to think about that. I am always. Let's see. I hear what you say about warlocks. Absolutely, warlocks are I think the simplest spellcasting class. I don't think sorcerers are that bad because you don't have to choose spells every day. You just have your spells, right? Wizards You had a lot of choices in there. Clerics, oh my gosh, you have so many choices in there to make every day.
Yeah.
Those are tricky. Weird that clerics are tricky now, but they are. Sorcerers, at the very least, are, you know, fewer spells. They give you a chance to play with spell slots, and you're basically just blasting stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like you need to think about like, well, what situations could come up. I don't have to be that familiar with that. It's like, I don't know, do I want to blast stuff with fire? Do I want to do it with ice instead? So I'm a fan of sorcerer. One of the classes I like for the same reason that you like the monk, I am a big fan of the battle master fighter.
Okay.
Because fighter gives you a couple options, right? A couple things going on. You're like, cool, what kind of weapons am I going to use? When do I get to use this bonus act or the extra action?
Yeah.
Why am I blank on what it's called right now? Right? You've got second wind. You have all these things coming in, and then suddenly, when you take the battle master, you're like, ooh, I can pick a maneuver, a couple maneuvers, right? I love characters that have some options.
Yeah.
Because then you have to think about them, right? You start thinking a little tactically, and you're like, when would be the best place to drop this cool feature? You know, I can only do it a couple times, so when do I want to do that? I think that just helps players like learn the system, right? Same thing you're saying with a monk. You figure out all the options. And it makes those other classes a lot easier. If you play a fighter and you just play the champion, I think it is, right, with just static bonuses, it's going to be harder to eventually jump into a wizard.
Yeah,
right? Because you don't have the middle ground.
Right, and that's kind of why I tend to try to steer away from like the barbarian, right? Barbarian's pretty straightforward. It can get complex. It can be a ton of fun. I like playing barbarians a lot. But if you're a new player and you don't want to be, you know, and it's not like the barbarian doesn't have a lot of toys, but you don't want to be the person at the table with the least amount of toys.
Yeah.
You want a steady progression of interesting things to do, so you're very engaged in the game. And that's why I like Monk.
That makes a lot of sense. But, yeah. You want your turn to be, you know, it's like you played with second ed, of course, right? Right?
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yes.
We've talked about this. Having a fighter and having your turn be I roll and I attack and my turn's over was awful.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that the games that we are playing now, that's usually not the option. I mean, yeah, first level fighter, yeah, you're going to walk up and you're going to hit a thing. But you've got an option there, you know, as long as you have one trick that you can do.
Yeah. You want a little variety in what your character does, and I think that's important, especially with new characters. But
it's almost getting into the 13th age idea, like your unique thing. Like you kind of want to have, you know, what is your gimmick? What's your trick? What's the thing you like to do?
Yeah, exactly.
I love those things.
Yeah. As far as discouraging classes for new players, I think I would discourage a wizard, a cleric, and a rogue.
And a rogue, interesting. Yeah. Why is that?
Well, so you know, we're talking about options, right? I think the rogues doesn't have as much, or has as many options that are relatable to playing other classes. Like, you know, they don't really get the second attack, right? So you don't, or do they get it, but they just get it later? Either way, like they don't get it as early at the bare minimum. I'd have to look again. And so all you're relying on is stabbing and hopefully getting a bunch of dice, which is good for learning advantage and disadvantage, but you know, there's so much involved in playing a rogue that I think is outside of combat, that I think then, you know, the trying to use that stuff like outside of direct combat, at least, right?
Okay.
You know, the hiding, the picking pockets, the you know, the locks, the this, the that, you know, a lot more, it's more skill related. And I think it's important to learn the skills, but I think, you know, it's also the complexity of the character isn't there. The complexity of the character is all in the skills, not in the combat side of things.
I see.
But
interesting.
So
I
also bards, because I don't like bards.
Right. I like playing a rogue. I mean, plenty of experience, of course, but you know, their ability to spend bonus actions to move around the battlefield, I find them to be really. I love the tactics of it, but I think my best time actually playing a rogue was in your campaign, and I played a rogue fighter
Mhm.
And so I was absolutely jumping for Battle Master to get those cool options, and then
Yeah.
having these bonus actions to move around. And I was a stealthy little ninja mercenary. It was great.
Yeah.
It was a ton of fun. But you kind of do with a rogue, like, want one more thing, I think, right, for
Yeah.
combat situations, which is why multi-classing is fun, and multi-classing is probably
Yeah.
not a brand new character
No.
place to go.
No. Multi-classing. Like in 5th edition, it's hard for me to ever multi-class because of that pinnacle of if you eventually hit level 20, right? Unless you know your campaign, which is something we can discuss in just session 0,
Yeah.
is only going to go to level 12. Then you can kind of build for that, right?
Mhm.
I love theory crafting. Like I've said before, I kind of have a lot of wargaming and Warhammer background. So, I love theory crafting. So if I sit down to play a game with a new character, I'm going to have like 3 or 4 different builds of that character already planned out to the level that I expect the campaign is going to go to.
Yeah.
And then I will have several backup characters because I'm never sad whenever one of my characters dies in a campaign, because that just means I get to play another one of my ideas.
Oh my gosh, that's just such a different viewpoint than a lot of players have. That's actually, like, while we're talking about things your party should know at the start, like, are you playing a meat grinder?
Yeah.
Are your characters going to survive to see the end? Are you the fated crew who will save everything? And so character death is never going to happen.
Yeah, I like my campaigns just like a step or 2 below meat grinders, where death is real. And my favorite way for a character to experience a campaign is to have a very epic ending, right? So is that the ending of like, oh, we hit level 20 and now you're X, Y, and Z? Or, oh, do you remember that time when so-and-so went to go save the day and grab the rune above the snake pit? He fell in the snake pit and died, but he got the rune and was able to pass it on to his companions. He died a hero, right? I love the hero's death.
Right.
So.
Oh my gosh. That's fun. That's a fun conversation to have with players.
Yeah.
Get to have.
Yeah. All right. And then one more quick question from the chat before we move on and wrap up for the day. What are the most important things to tell players about your world to feel a sense of place?
I tend to throw the word heroic around a lot. I mean, I think there are a couple of keywords that can give people a sense about what your campaign is going to be like overall.
Yeah.
I am playing a heroic campaign that has a neutral evil character in it, right? How does that character, and we talked about this character, I think, before. So evil, more selfish, more self-centered. But how does that person act heroic? That's a whole part of that character. Or what are the things that character does that other people see as heroic? How does, that's the guideline that we're going with. I think that's really important. I think, things like gritty and urban, that tells a whole different campaign story. And so gives you a sense of where you're going to be and what kind of sensations you're going to have as you're playing the game. Like, are you going to feel this like fear and dread about going around every corner? Are you playing a, Cthulhu-esque campaign?
Right.
Yeah, you can do it with a couple words.
Yeah. For me, I tend to always play in a published setting. I don't do homebrew settings, just because we talked about this a little bit before. I like the players to be able to go explore the history and bring that history into the game, as well as I like to just do random digs and dig deep into a campaign and pull some of that fun stuff into the campaign. So, but that's a little bit different than, my Forgotten Realms versus your Forgotten Realms, right? So yeah, I definitely want to highlight, like, yes, I like big fancy magic items. I like heroics, but we're going to be 2 or 3 steps below a meat grinder too. So death is real, and you are going to be a hero. And I don't expect that everybody in my first established party will make it to the very end, right? And I think, in fact, in my current home game, only 2 of the initial party members are still with us up to 8th level. Wow. So a couple of them by choice, like folks were switching characters, that type of stuff. But For the most part, yeah, I think evolution of a party is great. I think it's a interesting way to tell a story, and yeah, I'm with Jonathan. I like big items, and I cannot lie. Yeah, I want you guys to be awesome because I'm gonna throw awesome stuff at you.
Yep. That's very good, and I like that because it lets people know that that kind of change is fundamentally part of the story that you want to tell together. And I feel like, I've played in a lot of campaigns that threw around words like destiny and fate and stuff like that. That's a sure very common heroic trope, and that means I can't kill those characters as a player or a DM, right?
Right.
The player is like, well, I can't change, try a new character. This person's fated to save the world. How do you add a new player to that story? Like, oh, by the way, this person was also in the prophecy. You missed that part.
And that's not the stories I tell, right? And those aren't the stories I enjoy. Aubrey has pointed out, I think there's only one character left from the original party, and her hands have been transformed to be skeletal. Yeah, that's right. I do remember that now. She has skeleton hands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Dungeon Mad Mage, weird place. And
that's terrifying. That's great.
I'm easily distracted. But yeah, even in fantasy literature, I have a hard time with the idea of the one. And and we've talked about that a little bit, and we'll probably talk about it more because it's definitely one of those things that comes up quite a bit whenever I'm talking about like fantasy or D&D or any of that stuff. But I think we've hit that magic time where it's time to start wrapping up.
Oh, what?
I know. But the conversation doesn't have to stop because I have set up a Discord server. It's maybe not 100% operable yet. I'm still working out some of the details, and I would love for any of you to jump in there and help me out with that as far as testing out the different chats and playing around and chatting with us and having a good time as it grows. The link to our Discord is just below with, for those of you on desktop. There's also a way to see some panels and stuff on mobile. Just click it, join up, click the thumbs up after you read the rules, and should be good to go. Let's see here. What else? And then, so this week, Richard, how about where can folks see you?
Okay, so I guess on Tuesday I'll be launching a Kickstarter, so I'll be all over the place for the Academy of Adventures. And even if you are not, well, let's see. I'm trying to think because again, it's for parents, for kids. But hey, if you want to get an adventure that is family friendly, you can check it out there. And if you want to come to adult camp, you can check that out. And if you're interested in donating to the Heroes Scholarship Fund, you can check that out as well. I'm hoping that at the very least that Kickstarter gets shared around because I want kids to come to this camp. On Wednesday night, I'll be playing on twitch.tv/Saving Throw Show. We'll be playing the RPG Exploration Society with a one-shot of Fantasy Age with a group of fantastic people. And that's at 8 o'clock. It's pretty late PST, including one Alpha Stream who's been in our chat. Thank you very much. And then that leads us to Thursday. I think I'm going to collapse.
Okay, great. Yeah. And we'll make sure to post all these links in the show notes as well as for the YouTube version of the show, as well as make sure and post these links into Discord chats. So that you guys can continue to follow along with us. This week, I will be doing my normal DJ streams on Tuesday and Thursday from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time till about 9-ish. Thursday might go a little bit later. We're doing kind of a celebration for hitting our goal on our charity drive with DJ Pirate Rabbits. I do a charity drive every month. Not a big number or anything. Just instead of, whatever. Anyway, people who watch can donate to charities.
Awesome.
We donated No Kid Hungry last month, and actually we're going to do No Kid Hungry again this month, supporting kids who are affected by the coronavirus and helping get them food. So, so we're launching that on Thursday, and I'm going to have a special guest on that particular DJ stream. A certain cellist by the name of Aubrey is going to be joining me and doing some freestyle along with the beats. So playing some sweet electric cello, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Nice.
Yeah, make sure to swing by Thursday. If nothing else, swing by a little bit for Thursday night. Come say hi, help us celebrate, and watch Aubrey make my sweet beeps and boops so much better.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
wow.
Yeah. If there's nothing else, I think soup's done.
We did it. We made the soup. We ate the soup. Soup's done.